Welcome to another 254 repair video. In this one we're going to cover the charging port replacement on the Samsung Galaxy Tab 4 Nook SMT230NU as in November uniform. The first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and test our charging port. In this case, what we have going on is the charging port is broken to the point that you cannot actually plug in a charger. So we're going to go ahead and show it to you real quick. As you can see, it's kind of like bent facing down. So we're gonna go ahead and take this tablet apart and replace the charging port. So the first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and verify the model number. So we're going to show you the sticker on the back, and we're going to go ahead and take it apart and go ahead and repair it. Uh, this tablet is a Galaxy Tab 4, as I stated before, yet it's the same charging port and it's the same procedure as the Galaxy Tab 3. If you want to watch a video related to your specific tablet model, please go ahead and look at our other videos. We got over 40 videos that depict charging port replacement, screens replacement on several Samsung models. Please go ahead and subscribe if you want to keep yourself up to date in any new repairs. We usually purchase the devices as soon as they come out and go ahead and perform like the most common repairs that you will need on these devices. So the first thing we're going to do is take it apart, remove that plastic cover from behind the tablet. We're going to use an opening tool for that, and we're going to slide it in between the screen, the silver edge that is surrounding the screen, and we're going to go ahead and separate it. At this moment, we're going to go ahead and fast forward the video so you don't spend 10 minutes looking at us battling with taking the cover off. As stated before, is just a matter of inserting opening tool in between that silver and black plastic and separating it. Now carefully we're going to go ahead and remove the flex cables that connect to the battery, screen, and other peripherals of the logic board. It's not rocket science, just be very careful and unplug them without damaging the flex or the connector. So at this moment, what we're going to do is lift the clips that keep those flex cables in place, and we are going to carefully pry them from each side, left and right, using our plastic tool in order to pull them out of the clips that hold them in place. Go ahead and remove the screws so we can remove that logic board from the frame and start our charging port replacement process. Now, keep in mind in this video we did make a mistake. We did not heat up the charging port enough when we were removing the broken one, and therefore one of the pads on the logic board got damaged. Now, the pad that got damaged was not essential for the function of the tablet, did not transfer power, did not transfer data. Therefore, the repair was still successful. Keep that in mind when you are doing this repair. Not all the tabs, not all the pads, sorry, on the charging port actually have a function. Some of them are just there because that is the way a USB charging port was designed. So now we're gonna take the logic board and we're gonna put it on on our rework station. As you can see, we put Captain tape on the logic board to prevent it from getting overheated, and we're gonna put it on our rework station and heat up the charging port itself. So now let's get started with the process. I am not gonna comment through the whole video. It's not necessary. You can actually look at it and see what we're doing. As needed, I will make sure to point out the needed pieces of information in order for you to complete this repair on your own without damaging the logic board. At this moment, we're going to apply soldering flux paste in order to make sure that the heat is properly transferred throughout the charging port. Then next, we're going to use our soldering iron to heat up every single post and pad from that charging port in order to separate it without damaging the logic board, or in order to minimize the damage on the logic board in this specific case. Make sure you do not apply too much force in order to separate that charging port. As you can see, this one came out a little bit too hard, and as you will see later on in the video, one of the pads got damaged. The reason why is because it was not heated properly. There you go. There's a missing pad on the logic board. In this specific case, that pad was not essential for the function of the logic board. It's not transferring that data, it's not charging the pad, charging the tab. So it's not need there's no need to repair the missing pad. If you were to damage any other pad, specifically the two on the end or the two right in the middle, then you do have a problem. The two on the end carry the power that will charge the battery, and the two in the middle carry the data. So if either one of those got damaged, then you have damaged the logic board and it needs to be repaired. So at this moment, what we're going to do is go ahead and remove the excess solder and make sure that those holes on the side are as empty as possible. Obviously, if you can get to see the other side of the logic board, a clear hole, that is great. In this case, we were not able to. So what we did is make sure that we remove as much solder as possible in order to put the new charging port in those little holes. As you can see in this repair, we tried several times applying new solder, removing the solder, but we were not successful to clear completely the hole. So what we are going to do after is we're going to place that charging port in those holes, and then we're going to use heat in order to sink that charging port into the proper position. What we're going to do is place a new charging port, and we are going to use um, brush in this case, and it can be any piece of metal or whatever, piece of wood in this case, in order to push it down at the same time that we heat up the logic board holes in order to sink that charging port as much as we can. If you cannot get it all the way in, what is going to happen is the charging port is going to stick out and you're not going to be able to close the tablet once you are trying to reassemble it. So make sure that you get it in as much as you can. Now what we're going to do is use our opening tool. You can use a flat screwdriver for this task in order to push the prongs from the charging port all the way down so they can touch the logic board. If you leave that gap open, what's going to happen is you're going to have to fill it up with solder, and solder later on with the changes in temperature is going to crack and you're going to have the same problem again. Your charging port is not going to work. So therefore, push them down as much as you can. Again, the reason why we're doing this is because we were not able to clear the holes completely. If we would have cleared the holes completely, then the charging port will be fitting completely flat against the logic board. Now carefully we are going to solder every single one of the charging port connectors to the logic board. Um, those two that you see right there, the first one and the second one, are going to get shorted out by the solder. It's not a big deal. We have tools. You can use wicked, wick braid, desoldering braid, or whatever you want to call it, in order to remove the excess solder, and that will solve your problem. But if you go ahead and make a big blob all over the connectors, then yes, you got a big task to do as far as cleaning. So as much as you can, carefully apply the solder to each one of the connectors in order to minimize the amount of work that you got to do in order to clean it up. In order to complete this task, we will definitely suggest you to use a magnifying glass. In our case, we do have a microscope, and as we are working and our camera is recording, we actually are looking through our microscope at a 90-degree angle. So we are making sure that every single one of those connectors are properly soldered and they are not shorting out with each other or with the logic board itself. So um, the view that you have is as good as we can get it on a camera without using a microscope. If you do have a microscope or if you do have a magnifying glass, we strongly suggest you to use it because you will be needing it in order to get a clear view of each one of the soldering points, making sure that they are actually completing the circuit and that they are not shorting out each other.
Okay, oh, no problem.
In order to remove the excess solder, we're going to apply more paste, and then we're going to use our braided braided desoldering wick in order to remove the excess solder that is shorting out the first two pins on the right side. Okay, at this moment we are doing the finishing touches, making sure that everything is properly soldered. And then the next step will be to clean up the logic board and the charging port with the nature alcohol. You can use the nature alcohol, you can use isopropylic alcohol. If you do, make sure that there is a really little water content on it. You do not want to apply water to this. That's why we strongly recommend to use the nature alcohol. It's not a big deal in this specific case because there is no microphones near this charging port. But if you were dealing with a Tab 3 or a Galaxy S3, you do not want any water near that microphone. So we're going to go ahead and put everything back together. We fast forward this part of the video because there's no need to go over the entire assembly again. And now we are going to go ahead and test our repair. So as you can see, we plug in the charging port and the tab automatically comes on. We're gonna go ahead and unlock it and show you the icon on the top right corner, which you should be able to see right now, and it shows charging. So we're gonna go ahead and unplug it, and it goes off. Now we're gonna go ahead and plug it back in again, and you should be able to see the tablet charging one more time. This concludes our repair. Thank you very much for watching, and please go ahead and subscribe and give us a like if this video was useful for you. And don't forget to visit us at 254repair.com.